Buttonholes are a necessary part in sewing almost any garment, and your buttonhole comes with instructions on your sewing machine. But I'm going to show you just a couple simple things to do when sewing a buttonhole so you won't get lost. First of all, make sure you have the right presser foot that is supposed to be working with your sewing machine to put on buttonholes. The next thing is you want to make sure that the settings are correct. Very important when you're making buttonholes, practice, practice, practice. Don't ever start a buttonhole unless you've practiced it a couple of times. Then what you do is you place your fabric underneath and place down the presser foot. The next thing you want to do is help guide your fabric back and forth during the buttonhole. The feed dog underneath here actually moves your fabric, but you can help it with your hands. So I'm going to right now start sewing in another buttonhole, and I'm helping it just along a little bit. I usually practice buttonholes about 4 or 5 times before I sew, and I have been sewing for a lot of years, so don't get frustrated if you don't get it right the first time. Just make sure that you practice. You want to measure your buttonhole so that you have the right size to fit your button. That's really important as well. Then, see, on my sewing machine, my needle goes up and down a couple times and it ties off its own knot on the buttonhole. The next thing you're going to do is just take this out and you look at it and you say, okay, that looks really good. The next thing you do is when you have your buttonhole, you want to make sure it's nice and even on there. Then you take your seam ripper, and with your seam ripper you want to make sure that you don't go behind the back of the buttonhole or the top of the buttonhole, and you want to just poke a hole down right inside of that, where the seam is, and then just gently, ever so gently, pull the fabric back, and there you have it, buttonholes. And remember, with a buttonhole, practice makes perfect.